Ground and in Hopi, I mean, from our translation for this, we have a lot of this exact same tappings out on the reservation during at certain ritual sites. And in the story I'll tell down at the little Colorado on the emergent story, there was a creator. His name was Masa, or the a spiritual, or the person who was the caretaker of this fourth world. Because in our story, it was supposed that we came out from another world that was kind of being really destructive and falling apart. So we came into this fourth world. Well, we had this guy, this person, or the spiritual caretaker of this fourth world. His name was Masa, like I said. Well, he the way we represent him is by this figure. He supposedly floats on a ball of fire, and he's the one that guards all the places. So he goes all the way around, I mean, wherever we've traveled and stuff, and as a protector. He's not a bad guy. I mean, he was the one that gave all of us supposedly permission to live here, all the way from Caucasians to, all of us. So, all of humanity. But anyway, so in our story, this is his representation as far as his picture and how we perceive him. Because I mean, if you look at him, you got the little fire, and if you look at real hard, he does have little earrings though.
So we're down here at Nananskawip. Nananskawip is in the Paiute word, and it's called Fighting Pebbles. So you wonder why it's called that, because when they were at that time when they called it, they had some rocks coming down like they were fighting, making noises rumbling along. So that's why they call it Nananskawip. And you got some different names down through here too while we're at that, and you got that Tumpit. Tumpit means rocks, like rocks, a whole bunch of rocks. And then you've got some Guagant. That means that one's called Paiute words. And there's some different places, just like, for instance, when we came out of the house rock when I was coming down, and that just on the other side of Marble Canyon, I guess where the Buffalo Ranch is. Mm-hmm. That one's called Tumpikani. It means house rock. It's made out of rock, so they call it Kani is your house. So they say Tumpikani. That's why it's called that. And the area up here, it was used as a farming area. Like they had a permanent structure a long time ago where they used to live during their time of migration. They come up down here in the canyon during the winter time because it's nice and warm. And they have their crops available down here, and use them with seeds and medicine plants and your beans, and it has squash and most melons. The reason I'm saying that because it's Lake Powell took one of those when he came in passing through, and they were farming at that time. So that's what the Paiutes did a long time ago. They were farmers instead of just noble land roamers, the way they say. But in reality, they were farming. Because up there, when first one was at Dominguez and Escalante, when they came through here traveling, they were looking for a route to go to California. So the Paiutes showed them which way is the easiest way to travel without dying of thirst, and they were using them Paiute trails for water. That's why they made start and keep on using it, made it water. And eventually made a road to there from all the way to California, even across the desert down through there. It'd be long stretches, and if they don't know where the water is, they just perish. So they used the Paiute trails.
And
okay, in the Dinehui, Navajo, the snakeweed, we use it to when it flowers really bright, we use it to dye wool for weaving rugs. So the old ones, or the weavers, they pick it up, they pick it, and then they dry it, and they use it after it's dried, they boil it in hot water So all that it gets all the natural dyes out of it, and so that's a good use for it.
Yeah. Also, if you get ant bite or insect bite, sting, you take the little yellow one, some jet, and you mash it. And you can put it on there, and it acts as help extract and heal the stings.
So it'd be good for like passengers who always get bit by ants because they're not wearing their shoes, like a certain river guide too. So you could put that, yeah, as a little healing thing. Well, and this in Navajo, this is the yucca is this halawish. What he said. So the yucca I remember when I was growing up, I grew up with my grandparents, and we would use it to wash hair and wash ourselves. I remember I came into my grandma's house. They used to live in a 1-bedroom house, and all my aunties and everybody were in there. They were washing each other's hair with the root of the yucca, which is I call it halawish soap. So, and it makes your hair really luxurious and wavy. It's very healthy. You know, it's hard to dig it up. You know, you gotta really have a lot of patience, and you have to have a certain. You know, you have to use it for a good cause, not just to see what it looks like. So.
Yeah. Also, in the winter, one of the other things we do is we have they call it shoe games now, but we pick the needles, 102 of them, and then also the root is carved into a little ball right underneath, and so it's used as part of a ceremony, but they call it the winter game also, but it's really a ceremony. And 102 in our understanding of life is the age that we're supposed to reach. That's a successful life, is 102 years old, and so each of those represent that, and then also the knowledge that goes into it. In the winter, the songs are sung. A lot of stories, or a lot of our oral stories, are only told during the winter time. So this is one of the fun things that is incorporated into that. To a lot of different stories, a lot of different games that are shared and told. What else? So it's really important. It's a learning tool as well for young people as they're developing mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. This is really a really good tool to help them to learn. As a family, you sit down as a community. You sit down and you go through this process of teaching them through games